Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities Show. We are recording on May 26th, Friday of Memorial Day weekend. My name is Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm with my partner, Barrie Hederachi. Barrie, how are you doing?
Doing very well.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You ready for the holiday weekend?
Man, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Interesting week. We got a lot to cover. I'm going to be covering corn, cotton, nat gas, and then we'll have an update on the weekly crude chart with our circles to see if we escaped the circle or we're still on hanging on the edge or we're underneath. We'll review that. Barry's going to cover the big five, which is ES, bonds, gold, copper, crude oil, the dollar, and the euro.
Yep.
So we start off as always with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's back to being boring.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much else to say other than we're caught in this half square. By the way, the all the levels that we talk about, in addition to other markets that we cover but don't talk about on the show, will be up or are up on a Google Doc spreadsheet, which I will post the link to that when we post the link to the video. So Bitcoin, the key points are the same. Call it 28.9 up here and 24.4 down here.
Mm-hmm.
Until they break, you're kind of trapped. We had this thing moving nicely going into this, and now we're doing this. As long as we are under this upper limit, this full square here, it's not great for the bulls. But as long as we're above this half square, it's not great for the bears. So they're sort of at a stalemate right now, is what I'd call it. Anything else to add on the boring Bitcoin right now?
Well, Bitcoin, I think to me it looks a little negative. That high came in pretty well. Looks like a false break now, kind of. We had that little one peak in there.
Mm-hmm.
And on my work, I have a 90-degree line coming off the low in November.
Okay.
And that line is right around 27,256.
Right there in that area.
Right. And you can see how it's, price is like a little bit below that.
Yep.
So to me, long as it's below that, it's in a weak position. And I think if we can get on top of, let's say, 27,575 or something, then I think it could be on track again. But for now, it's a little wonky.
Got to pick a side, and then we can play.
Yeah.
All right, let me throw it over to you because we got a lot to cover. Let's see what the big five looks like. Banging the head on the ceiling again.
Yeah, man.
Is this the time?
It's been like forever, but well, here we go again. And that little block that we drew out, we're still within that. You can see.
Yep.
And let me get rid of this circle. It's a non-event. Nothing happened.
I was going to say, though, even the circle, once we got out of it, we're sort of trending up now. It's pushing.
Yeah. Spent a little time down there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing to notice is with all the hoopla, we're still kind of in an up channel. You can't really deny that. Yeah, this is all sideways. Actually went from the upper channel all the way to contact on the lower channel, right?
Yep.
This way.
By going sideways for long enough.
Sideways. Yeah. We got close here. That was still sideways, right? And
right
now we're down here. Now the only thing that's sort of in the way is the 72-degree line, which is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his 42, 30, 33, 34, right in there.
Right.
So really, till we get on top of that, it's still going to be more of this. And at least we have a line in the sand, it has to get above that.
Right.
As long as we're below it, this is really kind of acting like a tractor, and it's market goes down, keeps pulling up. And now we're starting to make higher lows. So if we take out these highs next week due to some good news, never know.
Yeah.
And we get on top of this 42.30, then I think we could be in a solid place. Up until then, this 4150 is the number that we've been looking at for sort of a balance, like a balance point, knowing this is the roof and this could be sort of the middle.
Hmm.
And this 4038 area was like the floor. And,
Sure.
And as soon as we didn't quite touch that back on, May 4th, I called it out and said, the fact that didn't we get to that is kind of bullish. So we have to watch this.
Yeah.
Then we kind of mess around up here. And, well, here we are. We're right at, 42.25 to 30 area. So that's resistance for now. I just can't imagine this thing turning around without at least a false break. And if anything, we could at this point take it out. Now, last week we talked about this 360 high to high.
Hmm.
And if this cycle was solid, this would be the one, and this would be the first counter trend. And if we don't make any new highs and lower this gets taken out, we could have a really fast move on our hands next week.
Absolutely.
To the downside, right?
Hmm.
So cycles are important, but so are levels, because that's going to help, they help us sort of figure out the direction.
Yeah. When I was looking at my daily, I noted I wanted to say something in this segment. We've been in the same half square since April 1st on the daily.
It was making me
tight.
crazy. Feel like
It's tight.
Yeah, it's very tight. Not much to do. It's just since last week, we got a couple of days to trade, rest of it's just kind of not much, just
Right.
bunk. And anyway, so 72, this is the one level to watch. And the 4150 is still in play. You can see the low today, was right in that zone.
Yep.
4146, so right in there. So for next week, I think two things to watch. We have to remember the cycle. There's 360s in play, which means if we can't take out this high and we start driving lower, it's possible that we catch some kind of a tailwind and start slipping through.
Right.
And this trend line would be definitely a marker to watch along for weakness. What else? If we settle above it, then, case is closed. I think then we're just more concerned about trading to the upside. So long as we're above that, it would make things a lot easier.
Right.
Because then the pool becomes the 50% line, which is around 45.25 up in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, of course, there's always a middle path, and that would be stuck in this range.
Right.
For a little longer, right? Yeah, that's all I got for the daily. Let's take a look at the weekly. Weekly, like I said, look at the thing to notice is we're making, these higher lows. And now you can see last 2 weeks, we spent majority of the time above this 216-degree line
Mm-hmm.
from the low. So this is, it's really getting pushed higher, slowly but surely. And we just took out the high up here versus the low. We can take a low, high, low. We took out the highs. So it's really kind of posturing to be, more on a positive tilt, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to remember that. And we have to also remember this. So it's always possible to turn around. And we have that 360 thing we talked about on the daily. And there's a couple of other cycles in there. So, but you can see the pushes to the upside, And I would say, long as we can clear the 42, 30, 25, 30 area, we can clear this square, basically. I think trading to the upsides was warranted. And if we can't, then we have to figure it out day by day, because we could be stuck, continue to be stuck. And if we get in weakness, then we're looking to the downside. Weakness meaning we can't really clear and get on top of the square, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And especially if we get under 4150, then I think we have definitely a larger move in play. So I'll leave it with that. Looking at bonds.
Now that's a nice market moving. Look at that.
Yeah, bonds have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
And well, we've been calling it. We called this high. We called the consolidation, and we had the equilibrium lines drawn in, and you can see how that basically tapered off the move and even tapered off the sideways. And after banging on that is when the downside started. So it's going to go and test this low. So it's got a little ways to go. We cover this every week, so I would expect it to go much lower. And we haven't really even had a decent counter trend, so it's moving fairly well. And this is the trending market, so it's easy to trade, especially day trade. So I would say that's a direction to watch. And if you look at the weekly bonds, you can see, you know, we drew this expanding triangle here. You know, we went down first, up, came back to test it again, went back and made a new high, perfectly in line with this. So if this is working out, we're going to look at, you know, 120 at some point to the downside. And that would make sense because I'm still looking for it to come in, test the 144 level around 114.
Mhm.
So obviously we're going to have to go a little much lower. Time is the trick there, but for now it's trending well, it's trending down. Anything you want to add to bonds?
Just that we may get, like you said, we haven't had any counter trends. We may see some counter trend in the
Mhm.
coming weeks because I saw we did a 36 by 36 on the daily, and on my weekly and monthly, we're on support at the lows, half square support on the I'm sorry, full square support on the weekly as well as the monthly.
Mhm.
So it could bounce a little here. I don't think it's like you know, a rip roar and move higher, but we could get a little bit of a reprieve.
Right. We have a little bit of a little mini Gartley going on in here, maybe
Mm-hmm.
something there.
Mm-hmm.
But we went through all of that.
Yeah.
Drop some lines later. Well, why later? Let's do it now.
Yeah.
Well, we took out the lower
Even took out
equilibrium
the low
line.
one. Yep.
So this is weak. I mean, normally what happens is it'll come back and tap the
Exactly. Like kiss it goodbye
uh,
from the other side.
yep. So that's something to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But if we take it from this low, which is also possible, then we haven't quite gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this line as support, and we could just as well go down here
Mm-hmm.
before moving higher. So I'll leave this open for now since we already have a line up here. You know,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
reference, and we'll see how that goes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it for bonds. Let's move on to crude, which, you know, yesterday looked like we could have a big day, a big follow through, but we didn't. But this is even more scary because it's the inside day.
Right.
And for now, I mean, the thing is 73.50 is sort of our key level here, and we're just messing around, you know, rotating around or very close to it. So there's really no big call to be made at this point. We want to sort of see it resolve to one side or the other, and it's holding this nice trend line. So our initial take about this being a important low, and we're looking for sort of the pullback here. Looks like we got it, and pullbacks can come in a consolidation. It doesn't have to always be, you know, a counter trend, a
right.
deep counter trend.
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue to watch this, and as soon as we get above 73.50, at least for me, it'll give us a higher probability of this being, you know, the big low coming in through here,
Yep.
and we'll just trade it accordingly.
And you could possibly catch a fast move too if this is a consolidation wave and take out the highs of that wave. This thing could run
for sure. So 73.50, as soon as we get above that, that's why, you know, on Wednesday, if we're able to take that out and sort of hold up here, you know, we could definitely have a follow through the upside, strong one, but we couldn't. So we're still kind of, and it came back down to the trend line. So we're kind of, you know, it's hopeful and it's holding in there, and the low is still, I mean, it's very far from the low.
Sure.
And so it's okay for now, and we'll just wait for the next step. Looking at the weekly,
And that half square is good. Look at how price has just been wrapping around it, bouncing up and down off of it.
yeah, it's been, you know, it's you can say almost like 3 quiet weeks, you know, after that one that gave us a spike. And this tells me it's bullish, you know, it's kind of very bullish. It didn't sell off, you know, we were consolidating, it's right under, and it didn't touch it and sell off like it would if it was weak. So, this is hopeful. I think the point is to see if we can get it, get above a couple of these key levels and hold, and then we can expect it to move higher.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, we have to wait. Gold, on the other hand, we were watching gold and we saw, well, we called out the high. We've been calling, all of this, and the last talk about this was with this 90-degree line.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. That's beautiful textbook how you clear it, right?
Exactly.
Come back down, test it, and then go.
Yeah, this 1980 area. What happened? Yeah, we came down, went back up, false break,
Tried.
down.
Yep.
And where did we stop the last couple of days? It was 1940, right?
Perfect levels. Perfect levels.
So now, 1940, this level is important. So if we hold here, we held it for 2 days, not quite enough, but if we hold here and a bounce coming up to 90, and if it stalls out, that could be a opportunity to sell it, trade the short side. And if we take out 1940, then I think 1887 area is the next support level. So there's a play on the short side there. All this because market gold softened up as soon as we took out the 90. So long as we're below 1980, it's soft. So I would expect it to have a faster and better downside moves and upside moves.
Yep.
And gold weekly really kind of came down to our trend line.
Right to your channel. Yep.
Yeah. And well, this is the
do or die.
It's to really do or die. It's really on the line. And everybody else can see it too. So we'll see. Of course, there's support around 1919, which is right just under. Once the run is done, once you have a couple of legs go up, unless we do another one fairly quick, like now, like next week, we don't take out this week's low, we start moving higher. Unless we do that, then, you have to consider this leg to be done. Either what's going to happen, all that, we can correct, have a deep correction, or we can consolidate up here. Now, consolidating above this 1881, 1919 box over here would be bullish. It's a very bullish consolidation. Didn't even come down. That wouldn't even consider coming down to the pivot low before the high. So this would be bullish to be up here around 1919, 1880. And so I expect it to be that, but maybe not for long because the dollar really kicked in this week. We'll see how that goes, but everything's lined up. The high came in, we did the test, had a false break off of that. So it's not like we didn't see this coming. It's very soft and it's starting to weaken up. And that's a big tail on the weekly chart. And these are the support areas. So let's see. If it takes out this week's low though, then I think we got more to go. And gold is definitely getting onto the weak side.
Well, it's like we've been saying on gold and silver and copper is that, they made a high and they're correcting. You just have to let the correction play out because bigger picture, they're all still bullish.
Yeah, bigger picture. Really, in the big picture, the support is around 180, and that's down in the 1600s, right? So
right,
1696, 1700, let's say.
Yeah.
So,
that's the bottom of this whole high level consolidation we've seen for a couple of years.
Exactly. So, in that size, in that level, it's bullish. Here we're really looking at the daily swings and the weekly swings. And so for that's kind of where we are. Copper also had kind of a weak showing till the end of the week.
Big reversal today.
Really till today. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And today was a nice reversal in copper.
And, we were looking for support where? We were looking for support at this line. I don't know if you guys can see this. I had drawn this line out and let me extend it because it's been a while.
Look at that. Nice.
How about that? How about that there, Ben?
Very nice.
And last week I said, listen, the support is right around there where that line was, right? You guys can go check the tapes. And here we are.
And there you are. And look at the move off of it. That's what's impressive to me because it tells you, okay, somebody something changed there, right? The character changed.
Yep. There's some copper traders watching the show
With deep pockets.
with very deep pockets. But anyway, the bad news here is now all of, this 50% becomes real resistance.
We got to get above that. Yep.
Yeah. So 383, 385 is real resistance now. Yeah, maybe you can play it up to here. But if this is, we have some upside to deal with just because of the size of the drop we had. And if we go and look at it from this high, you can also see why we came in and jumped so hard, right? We had
at that 90, boy, it really reacted.
90. We had a cycle there. We had support level here. So yeah, we have enough evidence. So what matters now is to see if we can clear it quickly. And
here's something for you, Barry. 367 is the half square on my weekly. Look where price is right now.
Okay. Well,
right there.
It's like you say, it's a decision time for sure.
Yes.
Right. So this 50% square is the next level. However we go. But knowing that we have a 90 going from high to low, we had to be cautious about being short this thing. I wouldn't really recommend being short.
No, it looks like the correction could have finished right there.
Yeah, 90 degrees is a decent correction. 90 degrees, 90 days is a decent correction in a bull market. And after 90-day corrections, it's, often we pick up hard. So
look at an ABC off that too. It's not perfect, but it's there.
You mean coming down here?
Yep.
Yeah, that looks good. Good. It's in there.
Yep.
And from this high, let's see. Well, the thing to know is, look, we did a 90 to here, right? High to low 90, high to low 90. So we have this sort of the 90 theme going.
Yeah, that vibration is in there.
So copper does that, and I would think it is still good to go.
Look at that.
Yeah. So
right on a 45.
Yeah. So all the numbers are there. But I would say, the thing is, the cycle low could come in, but it doesn't guarantee a bull market, right?
No, it does
just
not.
Means a low will probably hold. Like here, the low came in, but did it go to the moon? No, it didn't. What it did was it held the low and just traded sideways for 3 to 4 months again. Well, 2.5 months. And then we decided to start moving. So the real tradable move was here.
Yeah.
Right. And all this was just hanging around. So this is why, just because you get a low in and you buy some options and you hold it for 6 months, all this just kills you. And, and that's why you want to wait till it really start to move and then engage. We'll see. And that's what you do, right? When you bring up things every week, the commodities that you're looking at are ones that are ready to move.
That's what we try to do, is isolate that, right? Find the low and then isolate, the moves coming out of there that captures that fast move.
Exactly. Let's look at the weekly copper. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised.
Look at that. Beautiful.
I don't remember when I put this in, but it was, I think, probably
a long time ago.
And I said, well, we're going to keep this here and see what happens. And look at that. And
again, more evidence that was a significant spot time-wise.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't think we'll get there, but dang,
There you go.
So a lot of reasons to
pay attention
and to think that we have a potential low in place.
Yep.
And at least basis weekly, we don't have any resistance really till we get up into
almost 4, right?
Yeah, like 4. So that's quite a move in copper. And so let's see how it works out. So for now, you guys know where all the levels are.
That's a good work on copper, because I agree with you. I think we something happened there. We don't know what yet, but I think something ended. Let's see what comes next.
Right. So the dollar paid off finally.
Yeah, it did.
So all through here, you guys can check the tapes. We've been bullish, said, hey, if this half square holds, blah 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 blah, right? It's bullish, It's bullish. Don't short this thing. And it's funny, a friend called today and said, oh my God, all these people got, really squeezed. And lost a bunch of money. And I said, well, what were they doing? Well, they were short the dollar. And I'm like, well, what to do?
Is that your perfect contrarian indicator guy?
No, this is
Oh,
no, this guy, I think he hardly ever calls about these things, but today it just so happens, probably after this move,
right.
So, so there you are. So
Well, it's fun. It's a good example, Barry. We can talk briefly about it. The narrative was the dollar was losing the reserve currency. It's going down. Nobody's going to want dollars, blah, 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 for a month or more.
I'll tell you what, that's exactly what I said. It's like the retail hears all this news. It's amazing, like it's retail, it's in like a little information bubble and they hear the same stuff.
Right.
And then of course they're going to be shorting this thing, right? It looks weak, whatnot. And then if you don't know where the real levels are, you're going to get caught on the wrong
smoked.
foot.
Yep.
Yeah, get smoked. And it's funny, no matter what the narrative is, these levels in geometry always holds. The cycles always hold. So I don't know, I don't know what to do about that, but just watch less news. I mean, you got to know some news, but not anything that's going to drive you towards taking trades based on.
It's not action based. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think dollar is going to be in trouble later, but not now. Where it's plenty. I think we got plenty of trading left.
Right.
So for now, I think the dollar's good, and you really watch out once we take out the 72, the high up here.
Right.
And what is that? The 105,
105, 106, yeah.
Around that. As soon as we take out the high, watch out, because we definitely have new highs in the dollar coming. All right, so that's going to cause all kinds of havoc. But the thing is to watch how we get there. So the way we do it is level by level. So let's see. I mean, first of all, the target is 5.5 or 5 3/4. Once we get up here, we'll have to figure out, what to do next. For now, we've had a nice run up. So obviously a little bit of a counter trend is in store for next week.
Right.
So following that pullback, we can figure it out. I mean, if this is a 1, boy, that 3 is going to be a doozy, So
it is, yeah. Barry, you're just talking about the dollar makes me think of, how do they hurt the most people? It would be, like you said, taking the dollar up, making new highs when everybody hates the dollar right now. And then when everybody gets bullish the dollar because it's making new highs, then they pull the plug.
Yeah, well, always every high and low.
Yeah.
That's what you're describing. I mean,
because who would think, with all the negativity about the U.S. and everything that's going on and all the problems, the dollar going to new highs would just be the thing that people would least expect.
Yeah, well, that's what's going to happen then. So,
yeah,
I mean, dollar's going to make new highs. There's no
Yep.
question about that.
Right.
It's a matter of time. But the longer we stay down here, I would say the faster the move up is going to be.
Sure.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, up until we get into really strong territory, we have to play these carefully. And that's why we watch the levels and play from pivot to pivot. So we'll keep it like that for now. All right, looking at the weekly dollar. There it is, my compass.
Yeah.
So I've been talking about this 90 being the really key level. Through all that bad news for dollar, I kept saying, hey, as long as we're above this 90, dollar's okay. It's in a strong position, it's going to rally. So if that's the case, and this chart's going to hold, then, there's 106 on the weekly. So, look at the 5 3/4, 6, that's really where the resistance is to the upside. So we'll see when we get there. I mean, it's possible we get stuck in this kind of a range here for a bit, right? Before we move. I mean, look what happened during 15, 16, up in here.
Right.
So that's possible, but at least you want to know what direction. So we called out the lows, we started moving higher. So the 5 3/4, 6 will be the resistance for now.
Of course, the next big spot.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean we're going to go without a counter trend. So given that, rest is kind of all drawn out, clear, mapped out. And the opposite in the euro. And man, it's been really fun doing this, right? We went up to the square, 140 by 144, messed around a little bit, right?
Did this a false break.
I mean, really, I think this is what got the other half of the people on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
It
looked like it was ready to go, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even this being above 144, right?
Right.
But you remember our little trick, he didn't get above the 8. So I'm like,
the 8 is
I'm not
key.
really going to buy that,
Right.
I'm not convinced. So So what happened? It consolidated up, hung around a little bit and slowly started to break. And soon as it broke the 144, which was May 11th, we knew
Look at that.
something's up. And,
Mhm.
and here's the move. So that's what you wait for. Like we do all this work and be patient, but then you want to catch this.
Yep.
This is the move you want to catch, when it's running. And when it gets stuck at a level, then we want to be kind of quiet and watch. So looking at, just like we looked at the dollar, it looks like 106 is sort of the first level of support.
Mhm.
And eventually we're going to make new lows, but for now,
Yeah.
we'll deal with
Right.
one level at a time. Let's go for the 50%
Sure.
and see what happens.
Sure.
And this is also, I mean, we could get a bounce off of this when we get there, but that's another story. We'll get to that. But for now, it's weak. Clearly, the 144 squared out, which means, we're not going to go up here and make new highs anytime soon.
No,
I mean, that's for
should
sure.
not.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a done deal.
And a pullback into that 144 would be a gift.
Yeah, any rally is a gift at this point.
Right.
Right? It's really good. So here's the weekly. Again, you guys, look, the 110, we had it drawn out. I made it blue so everybody can see it. And a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, look at this. This is the trend line, the upper one, right? Because it was touching both of these lows. If it breaks that, well, that should get things started. Before that, the 110 level was really holding. I mean, the whole month of testing that, really couldn't get above it. And this is why, even though the weekly was above the 144, remember, we just looked at the chart before that. I mean, the daily was above the 144. Weekly couldn't get above this half square. So that was sort of the tell in all this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened. So basis the weekly chart, I would say the full square on 103, 104 is really the support level next. And it's good to have these currencies running again because they're really good to trade when they're trending. And we're trending.
Yeah.
Not much other than I've been posting these 30-minute charts on Twitter lately. And I'll just put a little, this is the chart. Just want to cover a little bit of what happened this week. You can see it's a square of 54. We got these called out these highs. We saw these in real time. Came down to the 50%, lost the 50% right there.
Yep.
And that would mean, to the next point, we lost that. Came right down to
Price and time.
the lows on Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Price and time, we squared out. And we rallied up to it, held about 150, held about the half. We were looking for upside pressure as soon as we took out this square at 108. 108-degree square at 41.72. And I posted that this morning, said look for strong conditions after that, and boom, there it is.
There it is.
So if you guys are day trading or trading actively, follow us on Twitter because these posts might help you figure out the frame, and it's much easier to trade when you know where the boundaries are. So
very good review.
Hey, thanks. So I'll put it back to you. Let's cover all the commodities that are ready to move, and we'll go on from there. All right, Ben, right at the square. Now what?
Oh boy. And another weekly close right at an important spot, huh?
At the line, yep.
It's not coincidence that happens because
like clockwork.
Yeah, they're decision points, right? So they push it to that next decision point and they say, all right, let's leave everybody in suspense until next week.
Mm-hmm.
This chart is obviously bullish. We're obviously at resistance. But the things I wanted to show, Barry and I were talking about it, is just looking at how the information you get from using these squares and these charts really gives you an edge. And I'll show you a couple examples. The recent one we were talking about. So we had this high. We were worried about it because that was 90 degrees up in 90 days from the March low. So there was squares there last week that we were concerned about. We said, okay, we got to see what happens. You got to watch price. Let's watch this half square, right? The first couple of days, the pullback goes to the half square. Then we get this sharp move lower, but closes higher, right? As soon as it reversed on that half square, that told you support held, right? That failed. That was a false move. And look at the follow through in 2 days.
Yep.
right to the top of the square. Top of the square, again, these levels are all on the Google Doc spreadsheet. For the NQs, you're talking about 14,340. And right now we're at 14,345. So we will have some suspense over the holiday weekend going into next week. If we get stuck under here, that it doesn't mean we're crashing. It doesn't mean the world's going to come to an end. All it means is this push higher is going to be done. And then we have to say, okay, what comes next? Are we going to consolidate? Are we going to go sideways? Are we going to do like we did here where we chop around the full square, trying to see who's going to win that battle? Or it could be a V, right? We just don't know. We have to see what happens with price action.
Mm-hmm.
So next week it's seeing what happens here. Going to the lows, and everyone may think it's kind of superfluous when we talk about, it's making higher lows. That's really important. Look at what happens when you make these higher lows and higher highs coming off of a low. Here's your low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then you catch this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we try in the commodities, and Barrie does it with the big five. We always try to isolate these areas where we can say, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3 higher lows. There's a decent shot, right? In this case, we would say, okay, if we clear this half square, there's a decent shot. We're going to get a big move. And of course, we went up, pulled right back to the half square, and there's your big move.
Mm-hmm.
Pullback comes into the full square, false break, boom. Now, what happened the last few weeks? Series of higher lows.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little thing, but if you notice it, and if you sort of keep that in the back of your mind that, okay, I see this market, it's making higher lows. Probably don't want to be shorting it. Or it's making lower highs. Probably don't want to be buying pullbacks there.
Right.
So it's just lining up the odds with little pieces of evidence that when you stack all these pieces together, it gives us higher confidence because there's a higher probability then that we're going to be right and the trade's going to work. Anything else to add here on NQs, Barrie? Anything you see?
No, we're good. I think the momentum is good. Direction is good. It's holding the trend lines pretty well. What else we got here?
This half square is super
Well,
important.
yeah. Where's your half square? Well, yeah, that is support. I have looking at another way. I mean, looking at the squares I use, is 14,780 is resistance for me.
That's up here.
Right there. Is that it?
No, it's a little higher. 14,780 is up here.
Right there. Okay.
In this area.
Okay. So that area is resistance. So, so we still got a little ways to go. So
Yeah. I mean, if we push through this full square and can stay on top of it in the way I have it laid out, it's bullish to the half square, which is around almost 15,000.
Yeah.
14,950.
We're just starting a impulse wave and they can last, 3 to 5 days. So we could have that leg.
You don't want to be short in this market yet.
No.
That's for sure. All right, let's talk about the commodities we're going to look at. We're going to do corn, cotton, crude just quickly. Barrie covered crude really well, but I want to show you the weekly circles and nat gas. Most of the other commodities, wheat and soybeans, are almost there. They're almost ready. I'm highlighting corn because it's sort of the leader, but I think you're going to see wheat and soybeans follow. Gold, silver, copper, all in correction mode. Copper, as Barrie said, we're on the lookout that has made a low, and now something different is happening. So I'm going to be watching copper closely this next week. Sugar's in a correction. Cocoa's in a correction. Coffee's got some work to do. It pulled back. So those aren't ready. We're not going to talk about them. Let's go right to corn. So here's corn. Nice classic bottom forming here. So, we did this move down, then we did this sort of slow rollover. This is kind of, wave 4-ish because it was basically sideways for 8-9 months, right? It went up a little bit, but if you look at it from here to here, price went nowhere. So it was just a bunch of sideways chop. And then we came down sharply into this full square, made a new low, which now turns out to be a false break, and we
Mhm.
shot right out of here. I want you to look at this last bar. The last bar, the full bar is above, right? The low is on the half square, and that was like a catapult for it today.
Mhm.
And we're closing at the high. So do I think you chase this up here? No. What I'm looking for is, let's see where this first push is going to end, and then where the pullback comes. If the pullback holds here, super, super, super bullish, and we want to buy it for the next big move coming. So, you can go back to the NASDAQ chart. We had that spike low, and then it, shot up, pulled back, shot up, pulled back. So there's going to be all kinds of those moves there. What I think we can say, like Barrie was talking about in crude, this low looks very good. Now we're looking for spots where, number one, we want to get that higher low. You can drop down to your 4-hour time frame or a lower time frame to see what's happening there and get more granularity. But on the daily, we want to see that first pullback give us a higher low. And once that higher low comes in and we reverse, then we're looking for the next higher high. But this, to me, is really strong evidence that we have a good low in corn. Now it's, where can we get in with a good risk reward ratio and create the possibility and the probability of catching that fast wave that will be coming on the next thrust higher. What are you seeing here in corn, Barrie?
Corn, well, from the November high, we're 144 to that low.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Big deal.
And from the July low, we're 216 to that low. And corn runs really well on 72-degree charts. And so like yours is set up for 27, which is, you take 54.
Mm-hmm.
So it all runs nicely. So because of that, there's a good, like you're saying, there's a good chance, coupled with that false break, that the low in corn is in place. But I would like to see the next pullback before we dive in.
Agreed. Next pullback is the one.
But it looks good. The timing wise, mark that low because that could be the one.
And also the monthly support here
Mhm.
is right on the low. 547 was monthly support, and we came right down and tapped it.
All right.
So big picture, that was a good area for low to come in as well. So corn looks good. We're going to watch this thing develop. We're isolating the low now. Now we want to catch that first pullback and see where it comes in.
Yep.
And again, looking for the higher highs, higher lows. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to cotton. Talked about cotton last week being at the top of the channel, having higher lows. Well, look what we did. We did an ABCD to the top of the channel, had a sharp pullback, and then look what happened when we hit that trend line today. Remember, I drew this in a couple weeks ago too. Look at that move off that trend line.
Yeah.
Now we're dead smack in the middle of this range, right? But higher lows coming in, right? This is a low we isolated. This is a kind of good thing to look at, having just looked at corn, right? We isolated this low, shot up, but then we went into this mess.
So that's what I was talking about.
Exactly. If you have options, you're dead.
Yeah, you're dead meat. So.
But you're exactly right, which is why the first step is isolating the low. The next step is saying, okay, what's coming now, right?
Exactly.
Is it going to be a V like this? Which this would be really nice to have options, or is it going to be this garbage where you don't want to even mess with it?
Right.
So now what we're isolating is the series of higher lows in here gets my antenna up, right? It's like, okay, it's telling you something. Every time buyers are stepping in at a higher price.
Mm-hmm.
Combine that with the fact that we're pushing towards the top of the channel and we're not getting close to the bottom of the channel anymore.
Yeah.
Not since March.
Yep.
So does that mean we run in and buy it right in here, smack dab in the middle of the channel? No. We need a setup on a lower time frame, or we need a breakout here out of this this daily time frame. Now, if super aggressive players and you don't mind being in the channel, you could say, okay, I buy this reversal. We reversed. I'll buy that, put my stop down here and see what happens. You're going to get stopped out more times than if you wait for it to actually break out. But this is a pattern that we've seen over and over again, is when we start getting these higher lows and higher highs, it's a precursor to that fast move. And especially with cotton, because we've gone sideways, sort of this second wave has been so torturous and so sideways for so long, the move out of here should be a really good one.
Right.
Barry, you got anything else to add on when you're dealing with a pattern like this?
Well, you stay away from it.
Right, right.
I mean, there's nothing much to trade. I mean, there's two things, right? One is there's only, I mean, trading, at least in the how we frame it, there's only two conditions. It's either trending or not, like we always say.
Mm-hmm.
So what you really want is a tool set that can help you determine that as soon as possible with a pretty decent level of reliability. So, and the squares and levels is one way to do it. And so in this case, it ran up, we came back for the pullback, and it really didn't lift off after that. You know, it just kept extending the range, extending.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as that happens and you're not up and out within the normal number of days that normally a counter trend happens and the impulse starts, then you sort of back off and wait for more evidence. And like in this case, you can see, you know, we had that consolidation and the false break within the consolidation right in that end of March. Yeah, right there. Mm-hmm. And after that, it started to make higher lows. So, you know, now it looks like you say, it looks like it's ready to go. For me, it would take a little bit more evidence, but because, you know, it really pays to wait till it moves.
Yes, it does.
All right. So that's really about timing. It's really about waiting, being patient, and not jumping the gun, not you know. So I think the elegant part of trading is really in timing. And timing not in terms of, oh, did you get that low or high, but timing in terms of you know, jumping in right before the move starts.
Exactly. Because there's definitely a direct correlation between how well you manage a trade and how long you got to sit in it before it does something.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many times.
Well, we've been through it. There's no question.
You get the right trade and you're on the right side and everything. And because it doesn't move for a while, as soon as it moves, you get out and you miss the monster move that you called.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no, that's that mind game you got to play, right?
Yeah. Well, even Gann, you know, as he got older, you know, if you look at his trades, he just played the counter trends after the market started moving. Yep. And before that, he would really, you know, draw all of his lines and wait for the break to come. And honestly, you know, if we were to ever do a service, that would be the one to do, to point out when something is actually trending.
Yeah.
And trends that begin after key important cycle lows and highs are the ones to trade. So, you know, here at least we're only talking about mostly when the important highs and lows come in place. And, you know, we follow through, but it's like a week gap, right? 1 week, 5 days later.
Yep.
But anyway, there are plenty of tools out there. Like I said, the thing to figure out is when is it trending and when is it not trending? And it all has to do with, you know, the bottom line is it has to do with, you know, it's a market making higher highs and higher lows or not,
right.
Or lower lows and lower highs or not.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the very definite, you know, very definitive description. But of course, there are all these fuzziness around it, and that's what makes it difficult. It takes a lot of effort to figure these things out.
And that's why a lot of it is an art and not science, right? It's that art part in figuring out how does the higher high and higher low fit in there? Is it in the right spot? Are you know, there's a bit of a feel to it.
Well, it's experience. You know, everybody's talking about AI. So, I mean, We operate the same way. The more samples we see, the more we know which one is correct, which patterns are not. Then we know the probabilities, and once we know the probabilities, then we know, how much risk we should take to take a stab at it. So it's kind of works along the same line.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to the next one. This is Crude. This is the daily. Barrie did a great job reviewing the daily. I'm just going to show the weekly because I wanted to update the circles and let you see where we are. And we're trying.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we're going to get a weekly close that's like right on the edge of the circle.
Yep.
But the break at next week, the next bar will be right here.
Right.
So it's either got to get weak to get back into the circle, or we're going to be out, and hopefully we get, this kind of move or some sort of move like this once we're out of the circle.
Yeah.
That would be really fun to trade.
Mm-hmm.
If we get something like that, like over the next month or so, we could see, low 80s before we bang into the next circle.
Mm-hmm.
Which would fit with where your resistance band is, like 73 to 83, right? Is the range you have?
Well, 73 is what we really have to be over to be bullish. And if we can get above it, then 83 would be the next level of resistance.
Yeah, which would be right here.
Yeah.
Right in here.
And that would be like perfect.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll keep showing it. Even though Barrie covers Crude, I'll keep showing it so we can see the progress of how the circles go and people can see how they work. All right, let's jump over to the last one, which is our friend Nat Gas. Now, this is a perfect example of something we highlighted. We tracked into the lows here, and this week we got another piece of the puzzle sort of filling in. At the high, we did an ABCD right into that high. So let me get rid of that. I wanted to show that, but now I don't want it to be too messy. I went down to the 4-hour and I was looking at the 4-hour to see, okay, where could this thing pull back to? What could we do? So far, we're holding the trend line, but let's say, knowing Nat Gas, it's probably going to break the trend line, give a nice head fake people out, think we're going to crash back to new lows. If we did a little ABCD down, look where we go. Right to the half square.
Yep.
ABCD is 224. The half square is 223. So it wouldn't surprise me if, as Nat Gas is known as the Widowmaker for good reason, if it does something like this to shake everybody up, get them all bared up, and then we can blast off. And you can look and sort of see what it's done at other lows, and other times, and get the ideas of the garbage that it does at a low. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
But then what happens is then you start getting those higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then we then the moves start accelerating.
Right.
And I think that's probably what we're looking at here. If we get an ABCD down into here and we reverse, again, it bodes well for higher prices and potentially a fast move higher. Because we're getting that. There's another thing you'll notice, and Barrie and I have talked about this for years, that you get this sort of curve as it's making a low. It's not an actual curve, but you see, you have one trend line is flat, the next one is steeper, and then you get a faster one that's even steeper. And that's when the momentum really kicks in and these things start to fly.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying, from here we're going to 8 or 10, but we can certainly revisit this downtrend line at 4. 380 to 4 would be quite reasonable and a heck of a move, from 225 or 250. And so I wanted to point this out. The ABCD up here, I saw people saying, oh, there's the Widowmaker. Everyone was bullish and now it's, crashing again. I saw that when we had these couple down days. It was really just finishing that ABCD. And now we have to see what comes next.
As long as we're holding above like 233, it's in fairly good shape. And if we take out 265 to the upside, I think we're going to run.
Let's
So
see. Where's
265 is sort of the key level I'm watching. And I'm really watching this because we could actually go,
Yeah.
let it be its season or not, you know. So yeah, this could be very good. We just have to be patient till it starts to go.
Yeah. And basically
Right
you're
here,
saying,
we had that opportunity because 233 to the downside is a bracket, upside 265.
yeah, and your 265 is right here, right around the previous high that we just made.
Right. And 233 is where on your
It's right there.
right there, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
a little above the ABCD target and the half
Mhm.
square. But I think it looks good. It's kind of dull. The bars are small, but that's when you want to look at this thing. If you go back and you look at the history, you know. So, and that's it commodity wise. Where's your focus this week, Barry? What's jumping out to you, or what's nagging you in terms of things that you want answers to, like sort of clues to charts you're looking at where you need some more price action, you need some more information?
Well, crude would be a good start because you know it's at 73.50 and sort of that's the middle point. To the downside, we have 64.75. To the upside, we have 83. So it'll be nice to know early on, you know, which side it's going to step onto and then trade that.
Right.
So, and it, you know, I watch that a lot. So that's something. And to see, well, the dollar, not so much. Looks like we're going to have to some kind of a counter trend.
Right.
Other than that, bonds are easy, but S&P really to see if we can break above and hold above, just like NASDAQ.
Yeah, bonds I'm curious about, being that we squared out on that daily. I want to see if there's going to be a counter trend or if it's just going to be sideways. Are we going to hold the monthly and weekly full square support?
Bonds, where did this square out? Oh, I mean,
yeah, that first leg down that was 36 by 36.
Right,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
I'm interested.
I didn't. There is. Can you switch screens really quick? I want to show you something for bonds.
Sure. Yeah, let's look at it.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I was going to say, if you put the square at the high, we have a 40 by 45 by 45 right there.
Interesting.
And right there, it just happens to be, well, it'll come around June 8th, 9th.
Right when the debt ceiling's supposed to get resolved.
Right.
Right.
And be right around 123. So,
right.
You know, 3 points from here. And that would be a very, I mean, this is a high probability trade, not a trade, a high probability move going into that, because those points act like, you know, these strange attractors. So we'll see. But so anyway, that's what I want to show you. When you said square, I quickly put it up at the high to see if you have anything from here, you know.
No, it'll be interesting. I'm interested in watching bonds. I'm interested in watching the grains to see if, like corn, you know, wheat and beans, you know, start stepping on the gas coming out of their lows and sort of show that you know, money's coming into that group, because they were all up today after being weak earlier, so in the week. So let's see what's happening in that group. The softs are kind of mixed. Cotton's the only one that interests me right now. You know, we showed the cotton chart. See if we can break out of that big sideways. And then copper's the other one. I think copper is really interesting because of, you know, because of that relationships that we saw at the low with the, you know, hitting the square, doing an ABC down into the low.
Yeah.
And a big move out today after it did the 90. I mean, that's all clues that, you know, there was a reaction there for some reason. We just don't know why yet.
Yeah. No, copper we have to watch.
So,
but we're watching for a low there, not necessarily for a trade at this point.
Correct. We're just trying to isolate the low and then figure out, okay, you know, where's that first pullback where we can get in. But otherwise, you know, it's going to be Memorial Day weekend, so we'll enjoy the extra day off and come back refreshed and ready to go. That's right. And you guys, if you guys like our work, just another reminder, you know, please share the work, subscribe, and also hit the likes if you like it. And if you have any comments on our analysis, and if your work shows something similar or very different, you know, feel free to share that. Excellent. Good job this week, Barry. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy your Memorial Day holiday if you're celebrating in the States. And Barry, have a terrific weekend and a good holiday. Thanks, Ben. You do the same. Thanks. All right.
Bye-bye.